The Survivor 50 premiere literally just happened, and this is going to be a spoiler discussion. Don't watch this if you haven't seen it, and go into the premiere as blind as possible because this season is literal fan service and it does exactly what we want as fans. For the new era, I should preface that. For the new era, it does what we want for fans. There is so much to discuss in this episode. I actually don't even know where to begin. Let's just start off with the easiest stuff I could talk about. 24 players from season 1 all the way to season 49. I love this whole clash of the eras because we can definitely see different personalities evolve, whether they're old era or to see new era personalities pull back on their game because, we have people like Rick Devens or even players like Kyle and Camilla. Like, they can't really perform the same strategy, so it makes it really hard. And then we also had the dynamic of the season 49 people where the whole season 50 cast hasn't seen season 49. And so it becomes like a Russell Hand situation in season 20. So the season becomes really dynamic. There was a lot of online excitement for the cast reveal. I remember last year when it happened, and like seeing that whole casting process happen live was amazing. Now there were some disappointments. Like, I would have loved Amanda from season 15, season 16, and season 20 to be a part of it. I also would have loved Earl from season 14. I also would have loved Malcolm from 25, 26, and especially with 34. But also, I have some hot takes. A lot of people aren't like the biggest fan of Aubrey. I know that she didn't really play well in 38. I'm really excited to see her, and we'll get into her game a little bit more because I do have some opinions based on her interaction with Genevieve, and I'm not quite sure how I'm feeling about that. But overall, I think this cast is really well balanced. Like, some of the surprise people for me is Jonathan, Joe, and Ozzy. They weren't really high on my list because a lot of them kind of have the same archetype where it's like honor and integrity, and that can lead to either some very interesting social dynamics in gameplay, but more often than not that can definitely lead into some more stale gameplay where it leads into a steamroll, something that we would probably see more often on Big Brother rather than Survivor here. I think the best part about this cast in particular, and including Jeff Probst himself, there are a lot of people here to play. And when I mean a lot of people, I'm saying the entire freaking cast. Like, it doesn't seem like one person is not in there to win. It feels like everyone is there to win. And I feel like that's the type of energy that we need because coming from like season 34 to season 40, we really haven't had the momentum of a veteran season to show that these players still got it in them. Now, I'm going to try my best to go down in sequential order. If I go off timeline, don't kill me. The first thing is the marooning. The marooning challenge is pretty cool, pretty simple here. I honestly thought that the Vatu tribe, which is the pink and purple tribe, if you aren't, smart with tribe names, the Vatu tribe, I thought they were going to be the disaster tribe, but it actually ended up being Sela, which is the orange tribe. All right. During my preseason, when like the interviews were starting to come out, I really started thinking that the Vatu tribe was going to be the disaster tribe. And I think a lot of the internet was thinking that way because what? Q's on that tribe? Yeah, just Q's on that tribe. Like, he's the only person in mind. There's like someone else in there that like causes chaos, and I'm just like, it's not hitting me right now. I don't know why I'm forgetting. But yeah, the marooning challenge was pretty fun. I thought it was actually more simple compared to some like other new era maroonings from like 41 through 49. This one felt a little less intense. I was just more excited to see like all these eras playing and like saying, yay, Colby, oh my gosh. Like, dude, I had a big smile on my face when the opening act happened pretty much. But really, I don't think the marooning was the most interesting part of the episode. And I actually think the most interesting part of the episode happened right after the marooning with actually, it didn't happen right after the marooning because there was the tribes getting to know each other. And we'll get in that in a few moments, but I actually want to talk about Ozzy, Coach, and Q. By the way, crazy dynamic, by the way. Like, that's insane, first of all. But They basically get sent to a sweat and savvy task with extra risks that we the viewers didn't know even existed quite yet, which I really liked. Now, I'm actually a big fan of the sweat and savvy in terms of like the logistics of how the new era works, that like, you know, you need to earn it. And when it's like day one in the game and you are picked to go earn your tribe supplies, I really do like that added stake. I'm thinking if I volunteered or got selected by votes to do a sweater savvy task, I would be a emotional wreck. I would be stressed out. I think anybody in that position, and Q actually has been in that position before, knows the stakes. You know, talking more about Q and Survivor 46 here, he was paired up with Julinski, and Julinski gave up the sweat and savvy task, and Q got all mad because he recognized that his reputation could be ruined. But thankfully, Jelinski was the first boot, and we got Q on Survivor 50. And by the way, I love Jelinski. Shout out Jelinski. There was like a challenge that kind of turned into a social challenge with like grabbing the keys, and Ozzy was almost there. And by the way, I didn't think Ozzy still had like his challenge prowess. It'll be interesting to see how he handles it with like no food pretty much compared to of all of his previous Survivor seasons. But back on track with like the key thing. Coach ends up taking it, and Ozzy was like, okay, Coach is like a little devious, but like, it's whatever. It's first challenge. Coach can have it. It's all good. And like, there's no bad blood. So he gets to go back to his camp and reintegrate. However, the twist is that Ozzy and Q get sent to Exile Island day one. Day one, by the way. So, like, the worst time to be sent to Exile Island is literally that. Like, if you can't make the initial connections, which Ozzy was talking about, you're pretty much dead in the game. If this was a newbie season, you're dead in the game. Thank goodness that Ozzy has such a reputation in Survivor of being basically, well, he's not really a good guy anymore, we'll put it that way. He's still the guy that like charms the casual Survivor audience, all right? Nobody knows his controversies and nobody needs to know here on the channel. But I'm gonna shut up. Let me drink my milk. You think you're just watching these people, but then they turn out to be like a little more awful and evil, and you just anyways, Ozzy and Q eventually go to their camps, but Ozzy has a extra vote that Q thankfully donated because Q wants goodwill with his tribe, which is totally a valid move, by the way. If you are going to risk your vote, at least do it for the goodwill of the tribe, even though you do lose power. And then Ozzy gets 2 votes, but doesn't get supplies, but it doesn't matter. Because then he can just say, oh, I lost 2 Sweat and Savvy challenges. My bad. And honestly, people are going to buy that, even if you keep it vague. I think people are going to buy that anyways. Let's talk about the Sela tribe for a bit here. I'm a big fan of really any Survivor player that comes back, right? Like, even if you are like the newest of new eras from season 49, there is something to like about you. There's something I like about each of these individual players. But when you start making obvious mistakes, that's where I'm just like, maybe you really aren't the player I thought you were anymore. And Jenna Lewis, I'm sorry, but you are one of them. When I was watching your preseason interviews, you did come off aggressive, but you didn't come off so aggressive like you did in the episode. So it caught me off guard. Like, I thought maybe you would be an early out, but I didn't think you would be the cause of yourself to be a first boot here. You know, this is something that we saw in season 40 as well, with Danny being like a third boot because she couldn't keep her mouth shut, let paranoia take control of her. Like a really simple mistake from a Survivor winner. And so when you have Jenna Lewis, who was pretty dominant on season 1, and also extremely dominant and probably the soon to be eventual winner of season 8, and then be a first boot on season 50, it's just, yeah, why on earth? But she was already throwing Cerie's name out like day 1, day 2, day 3, and it's like, if you find Cirie that threatening, don't make it so obvious that you're threatened by her, because then it'll be a reason for people to want to keep Cirie as a social shield. Also, there's one more thing I want to note, and that is Colby immediately disliking Rizzo. and then like warming up to him eventually. I thought that was pretty funny. Also, Genevieve wants to work with Aubrey, but Aubrey's like, I don't know if I want to trust you. Like point blank to her face. And I'm like, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, Aubrey, you're pulling a season 38 game right now. Like, chill. Breathe, relax. Everyone's a big threat in their own ways. Even Jonathan, that doesn't have a brain, but he has big muscles, okay? Like, if you're up against Jonathan in an immunity challenge, you're done. Like, you're done. So, like, the fact that you're saying to Genevieve, of all people, like, I don't know if I want to trust you. Are you pulling anything shady when everyone's a big threat? Aubrey, please wake up. Notice it. Your game is on the line. Everyone's game is on the line, but you're giving a reason for somebody to vote you out. And also, I really like the dynamic between Rick and Christian. I think it's a really cool dynamic there. Obviously, there's not much to speak on it, but I really feel like there's brotherly love there. Yeah, let's just get into the immunity challenge here. It was exciting. There was a lot of exciting moments in there. Also, really great starting immunity challenge. There's stakes there. It's high. Like, everyone's, first immunity challenge is always so intense compared to other immunity challenges because it's like, you have no idea if you're gonna go home first. Like, it's an uncomfortable feeling. Like, you might be able to gauge it after like 1 to 2 days, but even then, it's like, it's Survivor. Things flip on its head, which we will see soon enough. Upcoming on this tribal council. Yeah, Survivor, modern Survivor, for US Survivor at least, always does a great job with immunity challenges. I honestly think it's some of the most exciting elements, and I always look forward to it. I wouldn't say I look forward to all of them, right? Like, there are some more boring immunity challenge, but this one did have the energy, the excitement, and it was more entertaining than the marooning reward challenge. But things started to go a bit sideways. Kyle took a big risk. And actually, before I move on, I actually was doing some research on Twitter about today's episode carefully because I know Survivor 50 bootless spoilers are out there, and especially on Twitter, so you gotta be a little more careful. But just going to like different trusted sources, just talking about the episode that were there during the shoot, that they said, and quoting from Mike Bloom actually, that Kyle actually helped somebody up the ramp, and like he already made it up there. He just went back down to help somebody up, and then when he was attempting to climb back up, that's where the injury happened, and an injury that ended the game. Like, I always hate when Survivor players go out that way. Like, it's one of the worst things in the world. Yeah, I feel bad for Kyle. He was actually playing a really clean game. Like, he had a lot of different powerful social dynamics, and he was like shaping up to be probably maybe the best new era winner we have ever seen. But it was cut short, and we didn't get to see the chance if his strategy would come into fruition, because he played such a strong game in 48 that was super under the radar, that he was able to take such social control. And we saw that same strategy again forming, and people were buying into it. Like, what people were saying about Cirie, I see it even more so in Kyle, because Kyle can actually land a win. And not to shade Cirie, but like, Kyle's like a week fresh, technically. Like, when they went out to Ponderosa, they saw 48 live, by the way. And it was like a week before the game. And so when all those pregame interviews were coming out, people were saying Kyle's a huge threat. Kyle's a big threat. Everyone was saying that. I think it's a complete bummer. With Kyle getting injured, definitely kind of ruined the tone of the immunity challenge. But honestly, the tone got even worse when Sela, the Orange Tribe, lost really bad because of Cirie. Okay, I know you Cirie fans love Cirie, and I love Cirie as well. But like, if I was on that cast, I would definitely vote out Cirie first. I would not vote out Jenna first. Jenna, as we know, as I stated before, was way overplaying in like the first 3 days of the game. Way overplaying. I cannot understate it. But when it comes to an all-veteran season, and Jenna hasn't played since like 2004, but you've seen Cirie most recently on Australia versus the World and get Final Four, by the way. I don't know if I would be too keen on keeping Cirie. I don't really know if that's the best cast decision. They were kind of clocking that Ozzy and Suri were really working well together. Now, if they're gonna take out Ozzy or Suri later on, okay, that's on me for not seeing it. But like, I really think they're gonna let Suri slide to the merge again, because if Suri gets to the merge, dude, it's gonna blow my mind. It almost made no sense for the tribe to actually keep Suri because of how detrimental she is at immunity challenges. It kind of makes me wonder how she's making it along. Yes, I did see Big Brother 25 with her, and I understand that she has insane like social maneuvering, but also it's like when the whole tribe is saying you're the reason why you lost the immunity challenge in the new era and it's a newbie season, you're going home. You're going home, by the way. Jenna went out 7-1 in that tribal council. I think what they showed in the edit was very small compared to how Jenna acted. I think she was incredibly forceful, really intense, and did a lot more than what the edit showed. She came in so intense in the pregame, and it reflected into episode 1 and eventually snuffed her torch. Now, do I think it's good for my entertainment? No. Why would you take out a season 1 player, first of all? And second of all, don't take out my entertainment like that. I like really crazy people on my season. This is why I love Q. Okay? Don't get me wrong. The vibe's not ruined. Okay? Like, it's disappointing Jenna's gone first, but also, I can admit that she played a terrible, god awful game that should be banished to hell, because why are you being so aggressive? You committed a survivor cardinal sin. A sin. Like, this is a sin that's unforgivable, because guess what? You're 24 out of 24. That's embarrassing. You used to be Survivor's top dog, by the way. You were known as the winner ender. You were the person known as to eat the rat. You had America wrapped around your finger. You were literally a celebrity. And then you do this. You know what's crazy, by the way? She was my winner pick. She was literally my winner pick, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a old school player ready to play a new school game. I regret to have picked you at all. Why did I pick you? Like, you know, in Survivor, I have a really awesome track record of picking a first boot, by the way. It's bad. It's really bad. If I were going to be on Survivor, I think I would be a first boot, by the way. Or let me show you a clip of what Emily said about Jenna Lewis.
But let's start with Jenna Lewis.
Who?
From Jenna from Borneo.
Is there an option that's not friend or foe?
Yeah, I mean, you go with the third one.
Irrelevant.
You know, a lot was happening. It was really like 2 episodes merged together simply because of Kyle being evacuated because of his Achilles heel. Well, I won't get too much into detail simply because it is more of a part 1 of the episode type of deal. But we finally get a peek behind the curtain of what these advantages are. Why are the celebrities attached to it? Are we seeing the downfall of Survivor, or are we seeing an evolution of the game? You got to hear me out. Yeah, the celebrity names are slapped on there, right? But it is season 50 after all. Like, yes, they are going to call Mr. Beast because they want the Gen Alpha fans. Eventually, we're going to have a millennial versus Gen Z versus Gen Alpha at some point in time. So, like, why not? You know, I see those Survivor fans. I see you guys, by the way, saying like, oh, why do celebrities deserve like special status and get to do things in the game that like we couldn't vote on? I'm like, well, here's the thing. One person has millions of dollars and actually has social power, and you're over there working a 9-to-5 accountant job. You know who Jeff Probst would probably pick? Yeah, Jimmy Fallon over you. So let's stay humble. And if you want to become big, I don't know, do something special. I'm not one to talk because look at my subscriber count. Okay. But if you have a comment down below, I want to actually see a hot take of the season, whether you have one about me. Please don't do one about me. So we have a Billie Eilish boomerang idol. This boomerang idol is probably one of, if not the most unique hidden immunity idol we have ever seen in Survivor. It's sort of taking a Australian Survivor redemption approach of like handing it over to somebody and then hoping it pays well. But here's the thing with this idol. If the player gets voted out on the other tribe, that idol bounces back to you, thus the boomerang name. This is one idol where it was a meme, but now I really think it's going to be an iconic idol. And I do expect this idol to appear in future seasons as well. So we also have a double vote from Ozzy. We have also Ozzy has a Billie Eilish boomerang. Ozzy literally has all the powers, like he's Dean from Island of the Idols. This is crazy. Yeah, this is interesting. I don't know why Ozzy has so many advantages. Why? This is scary, dude. What's next? Is he gonna vote out Coach? Oh gosh, I would hate that. I would actually hate that. I would die. Oh yeah, and then Savannah has a block vote that she defeated Colby, and Colby doesn't even have his vote. Q doesn't even have his vote. There's a whole lot of dynamicism going on. We voted for dynamic power, which I certainly did, by the way, and we are seeing dynamic power. I'm curious of how these powers are going to shift, and also I voted for a swap, and I'm pretty sure if you check the Wikipedia right now, episode 3 might be a swap, by the way. Now, the last part I want to talk about is the episode 2 preview. And there's one specific part I want to talk about because it was not really good. The preview was it kind of gave away nothing. Ozzy and Coach are publicly fighting. Why? I have a suspicion that Ozzy is a bitter old man now. He was a bitter old child, and now he's a bitter old man. And I mean, I'm living for the TV moment, by the way. If I can see two dragons clash at each other, or I'm sorry, if I can see Ozzy the dragon clash with the dragon slayer, cinema, as Rizzo would say. But that is all I have for you guys today. This was a very long premiere, but this was a fan service of a premiere. So if you enjoyed what you watched, comment down below. Subscribe. All right, you already know the deal. All right, guys, this has been an eventful week, but welcome to the Survivor season of the channel. And of course, I'll see you in my next video. I'll see you guys then.